Hello everyone, Tactical here, and we're back for more Thrones of Decay early access content, and in this battle, we're putting the spotlight on two units that received less attention, Hogline Long Rifles and Knights of the Black Rose. The Hogline Long Rifles are basically a very strong sniper unit with good armor piercing value, long range, and good penetration. And in their current state, I do argue that they might be stronger than their equivalents, the Crane Guns and Jezzails. Behind them, the Knights of the Black Rose, basically same cost as the Knights of Blazing Sun, but they are more focused on the defensive aspect of things with 120 armor, 50 melee defense, and on top of that, they have solid leadership coupled with immune to psychology, making them very hard to get routed in combat. For the rest of the army build here, I'm going for a little bit of a leadership debuff stacking, a front line of swordsmen backed up by a few archers to provide the attacked by missile leadership debuff, because we do have Boris Todbringer here with his full toolkit. Midland Runefang for healing, a bunch of buffs and debuffs for melee stats, but most importantly, Blood Roar and Crush the Weak for minus 12 leadership. He is supported by Theodore Brockner with nothing but the Fearsome Combatant, providing an additional minus 4 leadership debuff. To synergize with the fighters, I decided to bring an Amethyst Wizard, not only bringing Spirit Leech, but also a Doom and Darkness spell for an additional minus 16 leadership on enemy units. Now, on the other side of the battlefield, our opponent, Human Boy Yes here, going for a Nurgle army, a front line of Marauders of Nurgle, backed up by some more extra Marauders, one of them the Frolickers Bubonic, and then a ton of mobility and monstrous infantry. The Regiment of Renowned Rot Knights, the Rotting Riders, supported by some Chaos Warhounds. Behind the infantry line, a couple Plague Ogres or Plogres in short, and on the right flank, some regular Chaos Knights of Nurgle, backed up by some more Chaos Warhounds with poison. Leading the army, Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle with no healing, just a Stream of Corruption spell and the Crown of Everlasting Conquest for self-healing. And that's it for the army builds. Now let's get the battle started. The Hogline Long Rifles, unlike Jezzails and Crane Gunners, don't have any shield breaker effect, but they do have good range and good armor piercing values. The first volleys are enough to do some pretty good damage against the Chaos Knights of Nurgle. You can see their HP bar already have a dent. Now, on the other side, Rotting Riders and the Chaos Warhounds are moving into flanking position, while the Marauders of Nurgle are also receiving some sniper fire from the Hogline Long Rifles there. Probably better if I just switch their aim over to the Rotting Riders or even the Plague Ogres, but alas, they are the only good target that I can shoot at with the Hogline Long Rifles for a bit, so yeah, they will just be taking some damage from the sniper fire. Now, one of the Hogline Long Rifles are switching over to shoot at the Rotting Riders, doing some really nice damage, while the archers will be taking over the shooting against the Marauders, doing some nice damage against their unarmored bodies. Boris will also try to dive down using his combined leadership debuff of minus 12 from Blood Roar and Crush the Weak, forcing back some Marauders with an early terror rout. With the Marauders pushed back, the Plogres are quickly closing in, so Boris will be retreating from that engagement and try to fight somewhere with the support of some swordsmen nearby. The swordsmen here trying to brace against the charge of the Marauders, but unfortunately a nasty Stream of Corruption hitting their HP bar hard, and they will be quickly routed away. While the rest of the front line is still holding, there's already a big gap in my defenses. At the back, I made another big mistake here, with the Knights of the Black Rose being charged by the Rotting Riders. Their armor-piercing anti-large will quickly chill up my defensive cavalry, though on the other side, similar mistake but less painful outcome, as the Chaos Knights of Nurgle lacked that offensive stat to overcome my Knights of the Black Rose defenses. And in the front line, Boris Todbringer and Theodore stacking up their leadership debuffs. Combined with the Doom and Darkness, successfully routing off the Plague Ogres and the Nurglings being forced into demonic instability, quickly eliminating this chaff supporting unit of Nurgle. A small win for me in the front line, but I did allow the Chaos Warhounds jumping onto my Hogline Long Rifles, as my reserve troops are either pinned down or drawn to elsewhere. Especially with the Stream of Corruption and the Plogres, Marauders breaching my swordsman defenses, and they are now threatening my missile units. The archers are being pushed back, and I don't really have any melee troops to respond to this threat. The Warhounds, after happily feasting on my Hogline Long Rifles without anything stopping them, trying to go for the next unit, but I'll be stopping them right then and there. Theodore Brockner and Boris being nearby means that they will be subjected to leadership debuffs and terror from Boris Griffin, so they are actually chased off for now. Another Stream of Corruption doing some really nice damage against my archers and spears, while the Plogres charge into their rear. The fear and anti-infantry bonus of the Plague Ogres are forcing my archers into a quick rout. Rotting Knights, the Rotting Riders, are jumping on top of my Hawkland Long Rifle. Same goes for the Marauders of Nurgle, trying to overwhelm my missile forces, but I don't really have anything to respond to them right now. Hawkland Long Rifles will be terrified for now, as my characters are too busy pushing back the Chaos Knights of Nurgle using that Doom and Darkness with the debuff leadership stacking, chase them off with the Knights of the Black Rose. It's just a terror route though, so the Chaos Knights manage to regroup for a quick second, but my Knights will keep them on the run. So it still ends up pretty nice for me. Rotting Rider is here, trying to surround the Amethyst Wizard, but Theodore Bruckner, Knights of Black Rose, and Boris himself jumping down. Plus the point-blank fire from the Hawkland Long Rifles did some really nice damage to the Rotting Riders. So the Rotting Riders are actually taking significant damage despite the Fecundity attempting to heal them back up. Rot Knights don't have the best leadership, so with the Knights of the Black Rose engaging as well, the Rotting Riders are completely overwhelmed, their leadership quickly dropping into wavering. Marauders flooding in trying to swarm my mobility, but that is not enough to save the Rotting Riders here, being forced back by Boris and the Knights of the Black Rose. Now I'll be sending in the Knights of the Black Rose to chase off this elite unit of Nurgle cavalry and perhaps push them all the way back to the white line. The Knights of the Black Rose do have enough speed, I believe, to keep up with the Rotting Riders as soon as the poison wears off, but for now, Boris and Theodore Bruckner are tied down by a bunch of Plague Ogres surrounding and beating up my armored entities here. Swordsmen are fighting, providing a bit of model support, but they are running low on leadership and HP, so I don't know how long they can fight in the mix, while my Amethyst Wizard will be dropping some Doom and Darkness, forcing the Marauders to rout, and hopefully trigger a train route for nearby Nurgle units. But as you can see here, the Nurgle units do have quite stable leadership, so no other units are gonna rout for me, and Boris will have to back off from this fight as the swordsmen are buckling due to the stream of corruption. On the far side there, nothing is saving the Rotting Knights, so the Knights of the Black Rose are successfully pushing them all the way to the edge of the map, while the swordsmen here are swarmed by a combination of Marauders. Actually, these are spearmen. They are swarmed by a combination of Marauders and the Frolicker's Bubonic, while Theodore Bruckner is isolated by the Plague Ogres, Chaos Lord of Nurgle, and some more Marauders of Nurgle. So things are looking quite even on the battlefield, if not slightly in the Nurgle favor, because they do have more battlefield control right now. All I have are the three single entities holding up the balance of power, one of them Theodore, who does not have any access to healing, and the other Amethyst Wizard, who can't really fight in melee, so not exactly great for me. Perhaps the Knights of the Black Rose can be of some use, but there's just so many Nurgle bodies for me to kill off. The Long Rifles managed to regroup right before the white line shooting at the Marauder blob, a mistargeting on my end, as they probably benefit more for shooting the Plague Ogres with their nice missile strength, but as mistakes have been made, and the shooting also caught the attention of my opponent, Human Boy. Yes. He's already on top of dealing with this returning missile threat, as the Warhounds with poison are bounding forward towards my rifle infantry. Meanwhile, Theodore Bruckner and Boris are trying to rout off as many Nurgle units as possible, pushing off yet another couple of the Marauders of Nurgle. Now, the Plogres, the isolated and weakened one, will be the next to fall victim to this leadership debuff stacking. At the back, swordsmen are buying some time for the long rifles, but their days are numbered. Warhounds are just gonna swarm the swordsmen, and swordsmen being so weak now, they simply can't stand up to the Warhound charge, allowing them to move on to the next target, the Hawkland Long Rifles. Getting hit by a stream of corruption, their leadership is dropping, and the Warhounds jumping on top of them. The Hawkland Long Rifles are just gonna get pushed off the white line, or worse, completely shattered. There goes my final missile support, so it's all down to the single entities, as I'm dropping a Spirit Leech trying to drain away the health of the Plague Ogres. But they still have quite a bit of health, and the HP drain isn't really affecting them yet. Boris and Theodore are fighting the Plogres right now. I don't really have anything available to support these single entities, allowing the Plogres to really surround them and beat them up. As you can see here, Theodore is taking more and more damage. Same goes for Boris even with his healing, but I did manage to do some pretty nice work against the Plogres. Another unit of Plogres have been pushed back, but I do need to send something to chase them off, but alas, I didn't really do that and might just allow them to regroup and restore their leadership. On the far side, the Knights of the Black Rose successfully chased the Rotting Knights off the map and will be returning and perhaps run down some of these weakened Marauders of Nurgle. Theodore, though, is completely surrounded by Plogres and Marauders. Even the Chaos Sorcerer Lord is joining the fight and trying to beat him down. Things are getting quite desperate for the Empire Legendary hero as his health is getting low. I know that Human Boy is aware of the devastating power of the Baleflame Amulet, so he won't try to kill off Theodore. So I didn't bring the Baleflame Amulet, and even if Human Boy's killed this character, this is not gonna kill off any of his units. I'm trying to overcast a Doom and Darkness in the blob routing off the Marauders of Nurgle, however, the Plogres do have immune to Psychology, and Boris' Terror won't work against them. Marauders are gone, but Theodore is still stuck in a bunch of Plogres. While at the back there, the Knights of the Black Rose trying to run down some of these weakened Marauder units managed to rout one of them off, now charging into a second unit, but now here comes the Plague Ogres being healed up by a Fecundity and are smashing apart my Knights of the Black Rose with their charge bonus and armor-piercing weapons. Not signing my caster after the Plogres to chase them off is definitely biting me in the back right now, as the Plogres are allowed to come back, heal back up the damage, and now wrecking my cavalry. Warhounds are piling in, Plogres, Marauders of Nurgle, everything is overloading the Knights of the Black Rose despite their impressive melee defense. So they will be taking more and more damage while Boris is just kind of tied down in the fight against another more healthy unit of Plogres. Amethyst Wizard did not dare to dive down at all, seeing so many powerful melee units are around, but good news for me is that at least I managed to force off the Marauders of Nurgle and these Plogres with the leadership debuffs from Boris Todbringer. Unfortunately, at this point, Theodore Bruckner has been routed off. I think might even be shattered, actually. So no more debuff stacking from the hero, and the hero's expensive melee power will also be lost to me. It is just Boris now, plus an Amethyst Wizard who can't really do much good in melee combat. Now the Plogres are just surrounding and beating down Boris, and I can't really pull him out of combat because I need to fulfill the attacking role while the Knights of the Black Rose are psycho charging. Unfortunately, even with rear charges, the Knights of the Black Rose aren't doing that much to the Nurgle army right now, as they're more of a defensive cavalry instead of an offensive one. Yes, they have been doing a lot of work, but they just don't have as much charge bonus and melee offensive stats as the Knights of Blazing Sun. Especially without the flaming attacks to limit the Nurgle healing, but alas, I do want to try out this defensive cavalry unit, so it is what it is. To be completely fair, this unit of Knights of the Black Rose was getting shit done throughout course of combat, and will be slamming into another unit of Marauders of Nurgle making use of their anti-infantry bonus. Another Spirit Leech here, a desperate attempt to work down the Chaos Army, but I did mistakenly drop them onto the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle here. Instead of actually doing good damage to the Plogres, the Chaos Sorcerer Lord simply healed back up the damage with the Crown of Everlasting Conquest, and allows him to continuously tanking damage from both Boris and the Amethyst Wizard. The Knights of the Black Rose here unfortunately get caught by the tier 1 Nurgle ability, Curse of the Slug. Being significantly slowed, this gave the Marauder infantry an opportunity to swarm my cavalry unit. Now leaving only Boris in the fight here, being completely surrounded and overwhelmed, army losses is hit, and Boris, even with the healing, cannot outlast the Nurgle healing. GG to Human Boy for his victory, as the Plague Ogres was actually a great counter to the leadership debuff stacking with their immune to Psychology, denying Boris from routing them off with the Terror on his Griffin. So that allows the Plague Ogres to keep holding in the late game and beating down my armored entities. Anyways, for the army performances, one of the Knights of the Black Rose did great, chasing off the Rot Knights and the Chaos Knights of Nurgle, having really good defensive stats, allowed them to survive into the late game, though unfortunately just not quite managing to carry the game through the Nurgle healing. The other Knights of the Black Rose was less impressive, being charged by the Rotting Riders, but still, pretty decent performance overall. While the Hogland Long Rifles, despite the short window of shooting available to them, they still earn back their value and then some more. Perhaps I should have just switched out some of these archers, buy more melee infantry to slow down the Nurgle melee push, so that the Hogland Long Rifles can dish out more damage and carry me to victory, but alas, they just did not have enough protection to keep them online. The rest of the state troops didn't do enough to stop the Plague Ogres and the Marauders from running them over, while the single entities not doing enough damage against the Nurgle army as well. For the Nurgle army there, the passive healing from Nurgle, using that Nurgle magic passive and the spams of Stream of Corruption, helped the Chaos Sorcerer Lord to sustain these Plague Ogres in combat, and on top of that, the Stream of Corruption was quite destructive, combined with the melee power of the Plogres holding down my armored entities and beating them down. the Nurgle army got some really good value, especially with the Chaos Warhounds catching both of my Hogland Long Rifles and eliminating them from combat. Very good game from Human Boy Yes Yes, and that's it for today's battle. If you want to see more early access content for Thrones of Decay, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.